pink light is just being placed around the body. This is the love light of Source, the pink ray provided by Elohim Eros. And this is because some of the information will be confronting, so we are just putting love around it so that the collective can recover from what is brought forth regarding the Lyran collective. The human collective and the Lyran collective are closely aligned because these were the original humanoid beings of this universe. This is the original DNA of humanity. Was a lot of it was originated from Lyra.
Now, I appreciate that beautiful love energy that's placed around. And would you be giving us this information that we're about to receive if it weren't for the humanity's best interest?
No, you would not receive it until the time where it would be appropriate to receive. But because what is going on with the collective and the play out of the polarity integration, what is occurring now is a remembrance of times beforehand when the humanoids of this universe went through an intense polarity integration.
Were the Pleiadian, I've heard a lot about the Pleiadian genetics also being a part of the human original structure. Were they integrated with the Lyrans, or was that something different?
The Pleiadians were an offshoot that came from the Lyrans. Every humanoid being originated from this, I guess, collective group, the Lyrans. They are very, very ancient. So the Pleiadians were a group that, I guess, genetically is related to the Lyrans as well.
That makes sense. I appreciate that. Now that you guys are integrated, can we place Elizabeth on a cloud and have her travel to explore the lifetime that she had as an elf Lyran being?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to place her on that cloud, and it's the one where she had a snapshot where she was a male. And if we can just explore that lifetime. And Elizabeth, when you are in that lifetime, let me know what you see or feel or hear.
I am in a ship. It's like I'm in this ship sort of thing, and this red light, this red alarm light keeps going on and off. And I think I'm wearing this big armor, I'm wearing armor on my body. I can't really, the armor is like very, very bulky. I can't really see my face.
What do you feel like you do on this ship?
Just going to say that I'm a soldier, some kind. And this place, it appears to be, it's filling up with water, and these alarms keep going off.
So is the ship like a ship that would be in the sky, or is it one that
Yeah,
would be in the ocean?
yeah, this is one that would be in the sky. And it's, I think just been like shut down or something. I'm trying to like get out. Trying to find a way out. Like my suit is like so bulky and big. I can't see any other beings. I can't see any other of my kind around.
So let's go ahead and go back to when that event first started so we can see what was actually happening in that lifetime that led to that ship crashing.
I want to say that I'm like a little boy, and I have this scruffy sort of hair. And I'm one of these elf beings, these Lyran beings. And like I've just got this little sort of tunic on. And like I don't know, it's kind of it's interesting how atmosphere, it's kind of really like dark colors, really dark colors. And there's these mountains, the distance, big snow-capped mountains. And we just
So,
sort of live,
yeah, go ahead.
trying to look around. The village looks kind of like it's got a few different things, like these sort of pod-like dwellings come to mind. But there's, like a mixture of things, like some pod-like dwellings, and then there's like, more castle turrety type of things.
And as you tap into that energy, what does it feel like? Were you guys at a time of peace or a time of war? Or what was the cycle that you were in during that time as a child?
Just surviving, and like, we were just waiting it out, like just in a survival mode, like constantly sort of looking out, because of the stories that the older generations they would tell about the lights from the sky bring great danger. Everyone kind of looks a bit like me. They're all a bit scruffy, and we have big black eyes, big black pupils that cover, most of the face. And our people, some of them like wear capes. There's an adult that wears capes, and I think there's some kind of school situation, and the adults sort of showing us on a screen. The word conscription comes to mind. It's like, they're training us to be warriors. And it's like this starts from when we're really, really young. And then they just sort of, the elders are educating us about the lights that come from the skies, and what happens, and why we have to be warriors.
Did you guys have galactic ships at that time, or was there a way to
We,
differentiate between the lights that they were describing from the sky?
yeah, we do. We do. They teach us how to differentiate which ones are the danger ones, but they haven't come for a while, so we're pretty good at this time. But like, everyone's always like, they'll come back again. We need to be prepared for when they come back again. And so it's kind of sad, we just spend all of this time sort of preparing for when that will happen, because we think that, well, if we're prepared this time, it won't be like the last time.
What happened the last time?
I wasn't born at that time.
What do
I
your
was
elders tell you that happened then?
Oh, they go into great detail. It's just sort of scary, actually. They really they don't mince their words. And like we're sort of like, we're sort of looking around quite scared, and then the teacher portrays the things that he's seen before. He shows us our movie in our minds of when the last time was that they came. And even though we've heard this story heaps of times before, I feel like, they always tell us this again and again and again so that we're not so scared, because the first time the teacher told this story, everyone was like, I don't know, they were squeaking and crying and carrying on.
Now, you show us this scene as a young man. Is there anything else that, as a young boy, that we can explore upon the scene that is significant?
I have like a mom and dad, but they're kind of a bit traumatized, and they don't like to talk about the lights that came from the sky. They don't like to talk about it. So I don't really ask. I just learn about it at school.
What is the lifespan for your elf race on Lyra?
It's usually about around 700 years if the lights from the sky don't get you. Seems like it's a
Yeah.
longer time. Mm.
Well, let's go ahead and move forward to another important date in this lifetime to help explain why we were shown the scene of the ships crashing.
It's kind of like it's like time for the graduation of the warriors, I'd like to say, and like we get our special armor. It kind of looks like a big sort of machine, and this will be our special it looks like a big armored droid, and this will interface with our bodies, and when the lights from the sky come again, we'll be really prepared. But they're sending us abroad so that we can defend the other colonies. I'm just trying to look around. It's like we're all standing in a row as these big sort of droid beings with just these like elf type of things in these big droids.
How do you feel? What emotion is going through you with this graduation?
like I'm scared, but I'm also prepared. It's like they've prepared me for this type of scenario. Like they've prepared us all for this type of scenario. We really can't see each other's faces very well, but we can telepathically communicate with each other, even through these big droid beings. But it's kind of sad not to be able to see everyone else's faces. So now we're lining up into the ships now. And there's a fair few of us seem to be going in there. And they sort of give us some sort of talisman sort of thing. I don't know. It's like a thing that magnetizes onto our droid type of thing before we go in.
And what does the magnetizing thing do?
This is like a I don't know, it's like a beacon type of thing. Like if one of us needs help or something, or something really bad goes on, it's like to communicate with all the others. Things like really get messed up. I think it does a few things actually. It also sort of tracks us where we are.
So you guys are in there and awaiting transport, and then what happens?
We just we're just flying in space for a while in these little sort of in the ships, and there just seems to be a lot of us crammed in there. And then some of them are like some of the others like I can't see their faces, but I can tell that they're smiling at me and they're sort of making jokes. There's not
Oh, go ahead.
sorry. There's not much of a there's not that much of a wait point, and then we reach the destination. There's not much waiting around.
Are most of them male or are there females? Like what do your, I guess, coworkers, the warriors, what do they occupy? Which bodies?
I think they're mostly all just boys. They're just the male elves, and the female ones do more like little sort of technical jobs on the ships, like intelligence sort of jobs. but there are some female ones, but like I think we're scared. We're scared if like, I don't know, everyone. I think there's a reason why we're being sent and not so much them. I think, we're frightened for our survival. So we need the females to carry on with their, eggs and whatnot, to not be the ones that will have to die. It's kind of sad. Like I think some of I just get the feeling that some of the males among me, like they weren't bred in the usual sort of situation with like a mother and father type of thing. Like, oh, it's kind of sad. I think they were like, I get the feeling that they were breeding them like chickens to kind of be sent off to war. It's a very desperate sort of situation.
I understand that. And you guys are there and arrive. And what are you guys going to go do now that you're at that new place? What is your job assignment?
There's been, I guess, a colony of our beings that's been, like, of our kind that's been captured on this, see a lot of jungle sort of area. And we kind of touched down from our ships and little pods that drift down with us in them, and we just walk through this prehistoric looking jungle type of area in these big droids.
Do you guys know who has captured them?
It's these kind of I'm gonna say like Orion sort of species. They kind of work for I guess you would call the dark side. They kind of look like this, they have this gray sort of skin. They look kind of rough. And they've got like they've got these, I think they've got our beings, our kind. They have them in these these huts, like these. I feel like this community is this colony type of situation. It's just in the jungle, and they're kind of reverted back to a more primitive existence in order to survive. But gosh, they even like caught these ones, and they've got them all in like surrounded all of their sort of grass huts. Mm.
What is their
Really,
intention? What is their intention? What do they want to do with them?
it's because our kind make good slaves for their system, and it's kind of it's disturbing, but it's like they have a few uses for us, a few different types of uses. It's really like it's really almost like this colonization type of thing that we're experiencing on Earth right now, or like in the past, the colonizers, and they just went there to these lands and got these people because they just made good slaves for them, and they had uses for them. Like there's no point to it really. There's no there's no drive to it. Like it just creates suffering. Like it just feels pointless and stupid, but they just do it.
Now, as your team has hit the ground and you guys are in those bionic suits, tell me, are you able to complete your mission of going and um, capturing these captors?
We we just like start to, I guess, send like a shockwave sort of thing that electrocutes them and just sort of kills them instantly. We don't really take prisoners anymore, and the ground is shaking. The ground is shaking a lot. It's really something's happening where the ground's shaking. And all of these little elf beings in these grass huts, they're just they're really upset. They're really scared because the ground's shaking. That's not good. That means that somebody else is coming. We kind of got rid of these guys, but there's somebody else coming.
Mhm.
So, yeah, somebody loads them back onto the ship. They escort the beings and then they load them back onto these pods, and then they go back to the ship. And well, they know that we're here now, so it's really kind of difficult because we're just sort of waiting for them to come. And we know that they're going to come and bring a whole lot more with them.
Okay, so do they actually arrive?
Not sure if the ground shaking was them or is like an attack from above. I think it's more like an attack from above. They're just sending bombs to this area. It's just really, really confusing and disorientating to try and figure out what's going on.
So take me through, what are you doing and what are you feeling?
I'm going to go back to the ship, I think, because, yeah, I don't like what's going on, but I know that, we have to help these people, but I don't think we can go any further. I think this is about as much as what we can do. So we're going back. It feels bad because we obviously know that there's more out there that need helping, that needs saving, but like we got enough for today. We got enough for today. So we got this like sort of village area liberated, and looked like there was some caves too that these beings were hiding in, and we got them out of there as well. But that's probably about as much as we can do. It just feels so bad that, we have to leave. It's like we're in survival mode.
So you're on that ship. Does the ship immediately take off or what happens?
The beings are in there, the other ones of our kind, and they're getting some care. Some of them had their like a couple of them had like big cuts on their heads, like, their head was bashed. So they're just getting some care in the sick bay sort of area, the healing areas. And then we sort of we take off and try and go back. And I think we do make it back this time. Yeah, we make it back. I don't think the disaster is until later on when we make it back. And these beings, they're sort of reunited with the rest with the rest of us. And it's really good, but some of these other beings have been in that hostage situation. Like, some of them were mutilated by these people, these other sort of beings from Orion. Like, one of them has their jaw is missing and whatnot, and it's just really disturbing. It's just like, we're just sort of like appalled, like consistently appalled, like of what's happened to our people. Like, they just bashed some of their heads in, and one of them's jaw is missing. Like, they're okay, but like we'll have to, like, our technology is getting better and better to help with this. It's just like we're in survival mode all of the time. And we make our technology especially for situations like this. And we keep trying to get better and better with our technology. And we send more and more ships over. I'm just seeing, as we have more advances in our technology, we send another ship over. We're pretty connected in with these droid type of things, and they're it's like they have this intelligence of their own.
So are they more or less like what we would perceive as sentient?
Yeah, they have I would say these droids that we wear on our bodies, they have some artificial intelligence to them.
How are you feeling just experiencing something that um, traumatic? How do you feel now that you've got them back on safer grounds and are unpacking what you just experienced?
We're doing better than before. We're doing better than before, so it's a positive thing. As our technology is improving, we're doing a lot better. Like, the advances, a lot of the I'm seeing a lot of the females work with the advances in technology, and they're very smart. So we need a lot of them to do that, and they help with our science. But it's like life isn't great, but there's some sort of hope that it might get better.
Now let's move forward to the scene we first encountered today. And what happened in that scene? Take us to the time where that is most relevant for that day and that event.
It's the lights in the sky. It's the ones that they told us about. The ones that we've been preparing for. It's like they knew that we were trying to fight back, that we were taking back more colonies, that we were liberating more parts of these planets. They knew we were doing it. It was only a matter of time before they came back. So we load into the ships. We load into the ships and we engage. So it's like our technology's gotten so good that our droids, the droids that we wear, they're kind of like almost like part of our bodies. And we were lifting off from the ships, and then we were flying towards, we were flying towards the lights in the sky that we know. Our eyesight is a lot better, even though our skies are so dark. Our eyes are really, really good. We can see a lot of things. So we can recognize from a very, very long way away, just with our own eyes, these ships and what they look like, and each ship that comes into our atmosphere. It's almost like from an evolutionary perspective, we've developed our eyes to be able to spot the ships. As strange as that sounds, it's like we've just evolved out of necessity. So our eyes are really dark and big, and that's how, and we always keep a watch on the skies. So when they came, we all loaded into the ships with our droid armor, and all loaded into the sort of hangar sort of areas. And then we took off towards the horizon, towards these lights that we could see. And that's when they spotted us coming towards them, and they opened fire. And then we're just going, and we fell into, I'm gonna say, one of our lake sort of areas. This wasn't part of the plan. We fell into, like, it seems like our sort of planet, it's very, like, the sky is very dark, and there's like these mountains, and it's very mountainous, and the mountains are surrounded by these big sort of water lake areas, these big bodies of water. The mountains are surrounded by these bodies of water. And as we were going towards the lights in the sky that we were told about, and we were prepared to fight with the lights in the sky. And then we fall down into these bodies of water around the mountains. Well, our ship does anyway. There's ones that make it there and engage with them, but our one just fell into the big lakes around the mountains. And like a lot of us are pretty good, like, because we're in our droids, like they're very, very protective. We just have to find each other. Okay, as we're going through the ship, there's been parts of the ship that have been crushed, and the elf beings that weren't wearing droids, they were crushed in this part as well, so that's really no good. And I don't know, like our kind is sort of desensitized, so at this point, so we get out and we start floating with our droids on the water. We all sort of we telepathically communicate with each other and see who is still alive on board, and then we start filing out of this small opening at the top, and we just go out into the water, and we're just sort of all swimming in these big droid bodies. And I can see that the beings that on the ship that weren't in the droid bodies, they're all like, they're pretty much dead on impact. So it's really good that, you know, we at least had these droid bodies. So I guess we're thankful for having these droid bodies around ourselves, this armor. And this armor is just sort of like, it just protects us so well. We're sad for the fallen ones, but we can't do very much because our priority is to get back to the city within the mountains and defend it. There's not much we can do about the ship, but we can be on the ground defending in case the lights in the sky come for the people. So we
Do
make
you?
our way
Yeah, go ahead.
to the shore,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like sort of covered in these rocks, and we go back up to the town. It kind of looks a little bit like a fairy tale town. Which is kind of strange, but with these like sort of pods that, you know, people live in. So we're just going to be in the town. We're going to stand out towards the other part of the lake. Stand around the lake, because there's this town. It's kind of like situated where we are. It's situated in these mountains, and these big lakes are around it. And we can sort of see that there's like a firefight going on in the sky. We can see with our big eyes. We're looking at the sky now, and there's like a lot of sort of explosions going on, and the townspeople are coming out and having a look, and they're grateful that we actually got out of the ship on time, and they're grateful that we're not dead, but there's a lot of fear and trepidation. They bring some of the children out to look, and we tell them to bring those, like, take those back in. Take them back in. You know, are you stupid? Don't take them out. You know, lock them underground. Lock them in the safe houses underground. We have these sort of tunnel sort of areas, and it's like we're us as soldiers, we're shaking our heads because the townspeople brought their kids out to watch.
Right.
And we tell them to go put them in the chambers, go lock them up and make sure that they're okay. Don't take them out to watch. And then we
Is
tell
there,
them you should go there too. You should go underground now. Why are you out here? So we've given the directive for them to go underground now.
is there a reason why this is happening over this town? Does this town something special, or does this just happen to be where it takes place?
Feel this town, it's where the soldiers come from. This is like this is our special military training town. It's like all the children in this town, they're bred for to be conscripted. All of the children, they're bred to be conscripted. It's kind of, it's just like a way of life at this point. So this particular town, everyone gets conscripted to serve. And some of the fire in the sky is kind of making its way towards the mountain. There was our ship that got crashed, but it was quite high up. And thankfully we survived and we're defending the town now. But we see as some like of these lasers make their way towards these big mountains that are around us. Like some of the snow from these mountains comes down in like a avalanche sort of thing, and we see it crash into the water. But a lot of the people we've told them to get underground, and they shouldn't be so stupid. And we're just sitting there and watching and waiting. There's this trepidation. And it looks like there's another one of our ships has fallen, but we can see it has fallen in the distance. But we can't do anything. We just sit and we defend the town. We're just all on the perimeters of the town, and we've told them to get underground. So we've done our job. We're just sort of gatekeeping now. And there's this fear that eventually that they'll come, and like we deal with the gray skin beings from Orion, but the reptile beings are the ones that they really scare us. That's why we like the reptile beings are above the gray skin beings. They're kind of like their bosses, the reptilian beings. The gray skin beings are just the minions of these. It's like a system that they have where, they just take other beings, they take over other beings from other places in the galaxy, and they make them as their minions and slaves and whatnot. So I guess, normally before us and the gray skinned beings would have been allies, but you know, we just were in that situation before where we saw them taking some of our beings, and they were going to become slaves. So we just had to kill the gray skinned beings when we came in there. But the reptilian beings are really the real enemy here. Like, we're sorry that we had to do that to the ones with the gray skin. The gray skin are kind of like original Orions. These ones with this gray rough skin. They have like a sort of bluish sort of gray skin and white hair. And we're kind of sorry that we had to do that, but you know, it's really like our species is really being preyed upon so heavily.
Is there a reason why the gray skin beings are working with the reptilian beings?
They just want to survive. They just want to survive. They're just doing it to survive because it's like they're slaves too. It's just, you know, we don't want to be slaves though. We don't want that. We don't want that for our society. So we've made so much, I guess, technology to just protect against that. And it's like we have, you know, different sort of factions of our society, and they're all dedicated to protection. Like, there's one, like, our sort of town is the military town, but then there's other sort of parts of our world where um, there's like the technology makers and all sorts of different ones, and we all work together to try and I guess protect our species. So we're not the technology town, but there's a lot of military towns. There's a lot of military areas across our world that are just there, and I guess it's sad that we're breeding as many of our kind as possible so that we don't become extinct and genocided, because there's the stories of the forefathers from before, from very, very long ago, and there was only a little bit of them. There was only very few of them. So we've learned from them, and we've learned that these beings, these ones from the sky, they will wipe us out. So there's even like, well, I just see that there's entire sort of areas that are we're just breeding more of our own kind and creating technologies so that we can have as many of us in these protective droid sort of cases or armor as possible that are protecting our world.
Are you guys able to successfully protect that town, or does anything significant happen?
We just seem like we're watching this battle in the sky for a really long time. And some of the ships fall out of the sky. And then it seems that there's one of the lights from the sky is coming closer. and we telegraph to the beings underground to start going further down, to start traveling further down the bunkers, to start, yeah, we've tunneled underneath this planet. We've tunneled it out, and we're communicating with the others, with the other towns as well. We're telegraphing information to them to start going underground, that they're coming. And we've received word from the other beings through our headsets that it's already beginning. From what we see in the sky is only just a small part, that they've got access to the planet now, and so they tell us just to guard the town, because there are entrances to the underground as well. And I just kind of like, it's like almost like we're just left out here to just sort of die, really, because it's like we've told the beings that have gone underground, we've telegraphed to them to let them know to seal it up, just seal it up, seal up the underground. So we've had, because we get all of this information through our droids. We got all of this information coming through, and like sort of updates on what's happening in all of the other parts of our world. So there's been a significant intrusion. I guess they were tired of us taking back what's rightfully ours. And there's been an intrusion. Some of them have made it to the underground. Some of these, I would say, reptilian beings, but that's not where we are right now. That's kind of like somewhere else. But we're receiving all of this information, and we're just going to guard our particular station. So the elf beings, a lot of the towns around our world, they've been telegraphed to go underground now. And we're just sitting there and waiting for when it will catch up with us. And
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
it's happened. They've arrived, and they kind of started coming out of the water. They started coming out of the water. And it's like we've engaged, and gosh, these reptilian things are about as tall as the droid bodies that we have, and they're quite big. We're really quite small, so well, not small, but like we're bigger than our ancestors used to be, but still these things are kind of big. They're big and ugly. And we've started engaging with them, and our droid suits are working really well. We just started to I guess they have like a electrocution type of thing, like that's just like, I don't know, like electric sort of shock wave that comes out of them. And
do they have any armor or any other weapons?
the reptilian type of things, they have much less armor on than we do, that's for sure. But they do have some sort of armor. They kind of look like velociraptor type of things, but like more on hind legs. They're not like, the snouts are like a bit more out than, like more pronounced than the depictions of them, I guess. And it's just, we try and fend them off, but there's just, this is the problem, there's so many of them. And it's all this big, like, sort of blur. It's all a big, like, it's just like so much is going on. And the droid bodies protect us really well. But there's some of them that get crushed. And they just rip us out of the droid bodies. Not me. I'm still there, at least for now. But I see some of them getting ripped out of the droid bodies, and they just sort of killed and tossed aside. They just sort of they end up as just these bodies on the stone shore. And I can see there's these red lights and explosions, more explosions in the mountains. I don't know how I'm surviving at this point. I think I just pretended that I may have pretended that I was dead, that I died inside my droid body, because they're not so interested in me anymore. They're kind of going towards the town. And I'm just sitting in there, just I don't think my hands are working all that well. I'm not quite sure, I think my hands must have been hurt or something. But I'm just sitting there pretending to be dead.
And can you see the entrances to the tunnels that were sealed?
They're all sealed up pretty good, but I think they'll just blow them open, to be honest. There's not much hope. I think they'll just blow them open. Like, they have the technology just to blow them open, even though our technology is we try to get it as good as we can. It's like, their technology is somehow better than ours, and we try and make so many advancements, but they still have an advantage with some of the technologies that they're using. They get their technology from like a higher source than we do. It's like we just get our technology from our own hands. It's like they're given theirs by the this controlling sort of force higher up in the chain, and we're just doing the best that we can with what we have. And a lot of the elf beings and droids, I can tell that there's some of them that are doing the same thing that I am doing, just sort of like pretending to be dead. But a lot of them have actually died in the droid bodies, and some of them were pulled out of the droid bodies, and their bodies are just sitting there near the lake. I don't really I kind of feel like giving up at this point. I'm telegraphing to the others. I'm telepathically communicating with them, and they're just really, really scared. And parts of their bodies are crushed in the droids, and I can sort of feel that they're shaking. And I'm kind of shaking as well. But we're just like, I wish we could just stand up and take a stand and help the town, but there's really no point. Like, we're just sort of sitting there in our droids on the shore pretending to be dead. Just maybe we might last a little bit longer.
Now take me to your final moments before you pass. What happens there?
Taking the town and whatnot, and they realize that they've checked the droid bodies, and they've checked I saw the other ones, and I was the ones that were pretending to be dead like me, and I realized that they snuffed them out, and then they pulled me out of my droid body, and then they just cracked my neck, and then they just sort of leave my body on the shore like the rest. They just pull it out of they just pull me out of my droid and fling my body towards the shore like the rest. It's over. There's just such little respect for us.
Yeah. Now, Elizabeth, you can be an observer of this if you want, or you can feel the feeling. The choice is yours right now. But what did you want? What was your contract for that lifetime? What did you want to experience and to master in that lifetime?
I'm just trying to connect back in with the higher self because I feel like it'll have like a better perspective on this.
Absolutely. If we can call in the higher self right now to get some clarity and understanding of that lifetime.
This is part of the many lifetimes I have put myself into a body in this system in order to see light to what was happening with this polarity experiment. And the Elohim found that it went too far. So we began to seed ourselves into these bodies. We seeded ourselves, parts of ourselves, into the multidimensional aspects of these different parts. So it's like we were having parallel lives in order to help these beings. But earlier and later on, we also intervened personally ourselves with the angelics. So first of all, we attempted to intervene with putting small parts of ourselves into bodies in order to seed light codes into these civilizations. But as things progressed, the balance was tipped too much, and then we had to personally intervene. But at this point, we were still putting ourselves into bodies, as well as to have an experience in these conflicts, to know what it is like from the inside perspective, so that we can best assist as stewards of the cycles.
Thank you. And were you successful in that lifetime?
It was not a success in the fact that, well, from the physical perspective, it was not successful. However, over the next few lifetimes, I decided to incarnate a few more times, and then we could easily watch the progress. The first time there was some light codes that were seeded, and the next time there was more information that was seeded, and then that civilization became more and more prepared as we went on. So I'm seeing as each part of the light codes were delivered to this civilization, they began to either develop their technology, or they began to, some of them began to actually turn away from a militaristic view, and turn back into this spiritual mysticism practice. They, as much as they despise the reptilian beings, these beings offered them a perspective to begin the journey inwards and begin to think of consciousness on a non-physical level. It so happened that they were able to gain a greater perspective when they connected in more with their spiritual systems. They connected in more with source. And through this, they were able to gain the tools that they needed to properly prepare themselves without having to rely so much on this technology.
Is there anything that energetically you experienced on that lifetime that carried over with Elizabeth into this lifetime?
There was the because of taking lifetimes in the Lyran system, there was this pattern of victimization, of being the victim of attacks, because many times the Lyran collective has been the victim. They have always been in a victimhood role, and it wasn't until later on that they started to turn the tables on this, and I guess, if you will, stand up to their bullies. But for a long time, it's like they had a complex, if you will, of being the bullied one. And in this life, she has had experiences of being bullied. The reptilian beings were what you would call like galactic bullies. They were playing the bully role. And the Lyran beings, if you will, were the one that was I guess, the example of I'm going to use the example of the shy kid that gets bullied, the shy one that is kind and gentle and sensitive that gets bullied. So it was very much like her experience of high school and learning to stand up to the bullies because the bullies went too far, and it really sent a shockwave around the universe when the bullies went too far in their role.
Now that she understands where that energy came from and that experience and that cycle came from, can we clear that energy connection from that lifetime?
Yes, that can be done.
Thank you.
Just clearing this victimhood mentality, because the attack to others, attack to self, it's something that's come on from this time, that's in humanity, and many people that would be star seeds as well, feeling attacked and victimized. So we are just releasing this now.
Do a lot of the Lyran starseeds have this carrying over with them?
Yes, yes, yes. They very much feel like they are on edge and they need to protect against the darkness, that they need to be warriors to protect. So these times playing out on Earth would be very triggering for them at the current time, because these memories would be surfacing of when the darkness came, the lights in the sky came, and they did all of these things to them and just killed their people. And no matter how hard they tried to prepare, it was no good. And again and again and again, they tried and tried and tried. And this was something that carried through.
Can we place the intention to clear that connection to victimhood for anyone that we can in this lifetime?
Yes, I will send an activation out to all of these beings that will need this the most. That
Thank
we are no longer the victims of the darkness. We are no longer the victims. We do not consent. We are no longer the victims.
Why has this Lyran lifetime been illuminated now and this information come forward? Why is it so important for humanity to know about this at this time?
Because you can see this playing out again and again and again in the current world. And it will begin to become very, very clear to humanity how much in a slavery system that they were. However, it's important to not step into victimhood in this. The Lyran beings, sometimes they stepped into victimhood, and then sometimes they went the other way and became dark themselves. If you would refer to the term, the bullied becomes the bullier, if this makes sense to you.
Yes.
Like one who has been pushed too far can in fact develop a complex where they feel like they need to take revenge no matter what, because there has been too much injustices. And humanity is coming up to that moment where they will feel like they need to take revenge on the enslavers. There are some that will be in victimhood, and I guess you are seeing it at the moment. Right now, there are some that want to take revenge on the enslavers as well. And there are some that try to put their heads in the sand and pretend like it doesn't exist. And there were all of these sorts of beings playing these roles in the Orion Wars as well. There were ones that were putting their heads in the sand and just doing what the reptilian beings asked, like the gray skin beings. And there were ones that were in victimhood mode, and there were ones that wanted to take revenge. So it was a time of deep polarity upon the universe.
So, what advice do you have for humanity right now to be more sovereign during this time and to not retaliate?
You must think of what Jesus would do. The Christ consciousness is the way. This is the way, not attack to others, not others attack to you, but to rise up and to say, set an energetic boundary. We do not consent, yet you can defend yourself and say that you do not consent. You can put a boundary there without having to revenge and torture and attack the bullies. There is a fine line which needs to be worked out by humanity at this time of what to do. Sorry, the body is hot.
That's okay. I know we've been doing this for quite some time. And I think we're just going to stick to this today. And we have a lot more questions. But I do want to I wanted to give this the opportunity to unpack this lifetime as much as possible, because I feel like it's so important for the next series of questions that we'll come back and ask. Is that okay with you?
Yes, that is okay with me.
Okay. I feel it's so important during this time, when we're standing there sovereign and telling the dark that we do not consent. How do we use our light and the light that's within us to conquer those things?
It is the light within the all, the soul flame. It is using this, and in listening to this light within the soul, this beingness of who you really are, that is where you will find the answers of what you must do in the coming times. This light that exists within during this time of polarity of the good versus the evil. Always go inside, go within. Look for the sacred texts within your heart. The polarity period is a little like the Star Wars movies. And if one, I guess, is guided to go to the sacred texts within their heart, like the wisdom, the Yoda character, if one is taking this perspective, like the Yoda one, like what this character represents, this will be the key to moving forward, if that makes sense. So these movies are quite important as you watch them and you get little hints from them. This is like a message, if you will, about the Orion times, and the original material for this was seeded into humanity to give them clues about what to do, about the part that comes next will be the wise, the wisdom, the wise part, and the I guess what you would call the force within.
So, are we at that cycle where we're ready to be aware of this because we're going to be utilizing that soon?
Yes, and the force, you will become aware of the force that exists within you. And in Star Wars, they called this the force, but it's very much like a message of the flame within, the God self within. So you can use this force in order to ascend and move forward. This is like the, I guess you would say, true Jedi skill, is to use this light within, this light that's your soul, that's connected to everything, that is the unity consciousness. Once you are there, it unlocks the key. Once you go inside, you have use of the force, and then you can, instead of being in a victimhood role, instead of being in a revenge role, which is just another type of victimhood, you are going within and finding the power within, finding that force within. And using this force within, you can then begin to change things from the inside out. Like in the movie The Matrix, when Neo makes the jump from one building to another, you will figure out that all is within, and the illusion is only thing that is without. And when you go within, you can see what is real.
Do you have any final messages for anyone that's connected to these? The Lyran Wars are connected, I guess, to all of us because we're connected to all this that's going on in the earth right now. Do you have any final messages for us until we meet again?
We are all connected, and especially all of the humanoid beings have been affected by this time. So you will see the Pleiadians, they have memory of this. The Syrians, they have memories of this. All of these different paths congregate to this point in the universe of polarity that existed before. It all comes around in a big circle to be experienced again and again in different iterations. Just like reincarnations, in the universe, there can be reincarnations of the same, I guess, cycles over and over until one remembers the true nature of who they really are.
Are we in the cycle where humanity is going to finally break free of enslavement?
Yes, we are turning to a new era. The dawn is arising, and we can see the light. It has been a dark night, the dark night of the cycle, the grand universal cycle. And it has been a very dark night. And we just see, as dawn breaks and the light begins to make its way up from the horizon, the power within. And as the dawn makes its way up, it is always darkest before the dawn. But when it finally does make its way up, we will all look upon the light in such splendor, and it will be like a ripple effect across the universe as the light of dawn appears over the horizon.
Hmm. And so it is. Thank you so much to Elizabeth, your higher self, for coming in and for that lifetime of the Lyrans, and just sending honor and gratitude to all those that experienced those wars, that we can just send love and say, we hear you, we're learning from your experiences, and we're evolving from them, and truly honor them. I also want to honor anyone here on earth at this time that's experiencing anything from the lower densities that we're learning from and experiencing from with these sessions. And we just want to send you love and gratitude, and for everyone who participated today.